So welcome, everybody. Today we're going to talk about 3 techniques that you can use to evaluate your library services. And I want to keep it fairly short because I want to have time for you guys to have discussion as well and just share what you're doing now in your library, or if you have any questions at the end. So these 3 evaluation techniques that I'm going to talk about will help you evaluate your library's facilities, and one of them, specifically the mystery shopper, you can use to evaluate how your staff is providing customer service. And the other technique is really about how well your staff in your library is delivering reference services. So all of us know that evaluating our services is important, but why don't we spend more time on this? Well, I know the main reason is you guys are just incredibly busy, and I totally get that. But also, I do know that some people believe that they are already delivering fantastic service, and if they had a problem, their community would tell them. And unfortunately, that isn't necessarily so, because about 95% of people who go into a business or even a library, if they receive unsatisfactory service, they just walk out. 90% of them will never come back. And they won't tell you. They just will vote with their feet. So it's important that you know how well you're delivering your services and that you evaluate this, because those people that are unhappy, they don't just keep it to themselves. They will share their unhappiness with their friends and their family, their neighbors. Normally people share an unhappy retail experience, which could very well apply to a library experience, to 12 other people. So those unhappy people get the word out there. So there really are some consequences of not evaluating and improving your library service, and it's those disappointed people who will share that disappointment with others. So normally when we have a really big group, it's fun to see where everybody is. But if you want to just go ahead and type into the chat box where you're joining us from, I know that you guys probably know where you are. So if you don't want to do that, that's fine, and we'll just skip this slide. I think in the past, a lot of us believed that librarianship was managing stuff. It was organizing materials and information. And the people part of it wasn't really the focus. And I think that's changed a lot. I think we do spend a lot of time managing resources and technology, but it's the stuff that we're doing for the people, those services that we are delivering to people, that really is important. So, and it's not only that, it's how your library views and interacts with those people that you serve that clearly affects the quality and the nature of the services that you provide. So I didn't set up the little poll feature, but if you just want to go ahead and type in your answer to this, how do you and the people in your library refer to the people they serve? So Major, you got customers. Great, that wasn't even on the list. Anybody else? Amy, C, patrons. How about you, Valerie? I'm going to type in your, oh, okay. Valerie is typing away. I tend to use a variety, you know, and that's very true. I think a lot of us do that. The reality is there's a huge controversy over how we refer to the people in our libraries. Some people believe that the term customers is derogatory. I tend to disagree with that. I'm kind of like Mary Jo. I think it's important that we think of these people as customers, because this word reminds us that there's an exchange occurring. And it, you know, when we use the words patrons, it's basically we kind of think of people, it's an unequal relationship. You know, patrons, they protect the library. They rarely demand things from the library. Readers, I know I had a director years ago who referred to the people as readers. I think people don't always come into the library to just read. So how we, the words that we use, it really does kind of matter. I wrote a post about it that Michael Stevens shared on his blog. Very good. Thank you for sharing that, Valerie. And I want to just share this one quote with you guys. Again, about the words that we refer to. So why does it matter the word that we use? I think words reflect how we think and we feel. And as Graham Walton points out so well in his editorial, the label that is attached to the people interacting with the service is very influential in how those services are shaped. So the next two slides I'm going to show you are screenshots of reviews of a particular Alaska library on Yelp. And remember I talked to you earlier about how people will share their experience with others. So when we talk about service quality, if someone has a great experience, they're likely to share that as well. And so quality is the manner in which a service is delivered or isn't delivered. So a library customer's impression of service quality is formed when they attend a library program, check out a book, approach staff with a reference question. That impression is formed in a myriad of different ways. Customer expectations can influence how satisfied they are when they are in your library. How often have you gone to a business or an agency only to learn that they don't provide the service that you need? And I know I've had that happen to me, and you leave very frustrated and annoyed. This review illustrates that this reviewer really appreciated and valued the free Wi-Fi service available from the library. Her expectations were met. So a library's reputation, it's formed on this collective experience of the people that come in and their impressions of the service that they receive. Same library, a different review. Customer satisfaction can also be affected by, what prompted the visit. Is their kid have an assignment that's due tomorrow and they haven't even started on it, or so they're already annoyed before they ever get there. Interactions with staff, are those interactions pleasant or unpleasant? Importance, how important is this information to that person? If they don't get it, is it really a dire situation? The urgency, if they don't get it now, is that really going to be a huge negative thing in their life? So this negative review is for the same Alaskan library, and as you can see, this customer needed to access the internet to purchase an airline ticket. So this was an item of high importance and urgency, and they weren't able to do it. And notice that part at the bottom, it said the reviewer's reference to staff's inflexibility. How it really would have made a difference if this person could have had more time. It could have made a huge difference. They probably would have written a completely different review if that staff had been a little bit more flexible in the way that they delivered their services. So how many of you guys are tracking your library's reputation online? Are you checking to see how how the attention your library is receiving negative? Amy, yes, negative or positive. Great, I'm sure yours is all positive. You have one review on Yelp. Yeah, so Yelp, and Yelp isn't the only review source out there, but it's good to know what people, what's out there. Okay, so the three techniques that we're going to talk about today are a quality walk, a mystery shopper, and that unobtrusive observation. The quality walk is the easiest of the techniques. I'll tell you, it's extremely easy. You can do it right after this webinar. The other two are a little bit more time consuming. So you know that your library is providing access not only to materials, but also to a wide range of services. Hopefully when you guys joined on to this webinar, you got the WebJunction Library Service Responses little handout. Well, I think it's not a little handout. I think it's a couple pages. So when you look at that list, you'll see, your library is probably meeting several of the services that are listed on there. But how do you know that the services you're providing match the changing needs of your library customers? Even more importantly, how do you know that you're providing your customers with quality library services? So one way to do it is to practice continuous quality improvement by conducting a variety of evaluation techniques. And it's this variety. You know, I think we're all burned out on surveys. If I never have to take another survey in my life, I'll be really happy about that. So these techniques aren't surveys. They aren't the little customer comment cards. They are a little bit more involved. And what they do is they help you experience your library as a customer does in 3 different ways. The first one is basically a facilities audit. The second one is a customer service audit. And the third one is the reference one. You're welcome, Amy. I'm sure Daniel will appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So again, what you want to do is to look at how you're delivering your customer service in a variety of ways, and get yourself into your customer's perspective. And the reality is that these are fact checks, because you may have an idea of how your staff is delivering customer service, or how customers feel when they're in your library, or the accuracy of the reference questions that your library is providing to folks. But that doesn't always align with reality. And if there is a problem, you want to be able to fix it and improve it. So the quality walk. How would you feel if this was the first thing you saw when you walked into your library? Would you feel welcomed and appreciated? Oh, really? Sorry about that, MJ. Mary Jo, I'll look and see what handout you got. I'm not sure which one. You should have got the right one. Okay. So the quality walk is simply that. It's a simple and effective tool for evaluating your library facility. All you basically need is a pencil and a notebook. Or you can use your smartphone. You just need something to be able to record the things that you find in your library, any problems out there. What you're going to do is you're going to start out in the parking lot. And you're basically going to experience the library as your customers do. Is there adequate parking? Is the entrance clean and tidy? If you have a designated smoking area out there, are your customers having to walk through a bunch of discarded cigarette butts and overflowing trash can? Is the signage visible? Is it a welcoming entrance? I love, this is a picture of Kaufman Cove, and you can see it's a small, very small community, and in this community, this is adequate parking. So basically, you're going to start out and just, like we talked about the hours, are they clearly visible? Is the entrance clean? When you get into the building, you're going to check the lighting, the temperature, humidity, the noise level, the available seating, again, the cleanliness. I can't tell you how turned off you get when you walk in, you need to use the restroom and it's just filthy, or the first thing you experience in a library is the odors from the trash cans that are changed every other day instead of every day, or whatever. Are there tripping hazards? Are you having to cross over extension cords? Are there tipping hazards and things that are going to fall on you? Look for safety issues. All of these things that you're experiencing, your customers are experiencing. And after a while, when we're in a building, we really get immune to it. This is just what it is. Are the materials easy to find? Is it easy for patrons to maneuver through the collections? I love the fact that these bookshelves are built so that you don't have to bend over. Sometimes you have to crouch to get something. On the other hand, this might be a little bit of, in an earthquake zone, it might be a little bit of a hazard to have things up on these very top. So you just think of any safety hazards that could be out there. Also, you're going to go to all of the service points and experience it as your patrons do. Is there anybody manning the service point? Is it manned? I mean, how do people know? If it's only manned for a few hours, is there a sign telling people, you know, are there handouts for people to take with your hours? You know, it's really, the quality walk is a very simple, but it's an effective tool. If you find your problems, talk about it with your staff and see how many of these things you can quickly correct. The second one, evaluation technique, is the mystery shopper. Mystery shopping is really heavily used in retail because it works. This evaluation technique is much more time consuming, but it yields information that really may be difficult to obtain any other way. And what it does, well, what it requires is a trained observer who's going to make repeated visits to your library. And this observer's job is really to record objective data about those visits. This is not their opinion about the way that things should be. This is just an observation of how things are. So you need to be sure that you get that across. And this is not a tool that you're going to punish your staff with. This is a tool that's going to make your library services better. So it's important to inform your staff if you're going to use this as a form of evaluation. And let them know what the customer service behaviors are that your mystery shopper is going to be looking for. And in this way, this technique really does become a tool for making your staff better, for informing them, helping them develop what your customer service values are. And mystery shopping can take place in person, over the telephone, or even through chat. When I was a reference librarian at Egan Library, we had mystery shoppers, and it came through the chat. You didn't know who they were. You didn't know that you were being observed, but you did hear about the experiences afterwards. And it was always anonymous. You know, they never pointed out, you know, staff, this person, you know, did a great job and this person did a terrible job. It's just, this is what, you know, the mystery shopper experience. So this is the process. This is how it works. The first thing you need to do is determine what makes a satisfactory library experience in your library. You want to list everything that you believe makes for a positive experience. Maybe it's adequate parking in the front, the clean restrooms, really clean, tidy shelves, clear signage, available seating. And you also want to include qualities such as the friendliness of the staff. You know, it's kind of, I believe, why Blockbuster has the staff, every time you walk into a Blockbuster, they turn and they say, hello, welcome, or whatever. But, you know, it's important to be greeted upon entry into a library. Receiving a thank you at the end, or a greeting at the end of the checkout. Staff who provide physical assistance. Maybe you want to be sure that your staff, if somebody needs help finding something, they just don't point in the general direction of where it is, that they actually get out from behind the desk and they walk the person over and they make sure that they get that item they need in their hand. You might want to include eye contact and smiling as well. This is a very friendly woman. She has a very nice engaging smile, and she looks like she'd be happy to help you. And that's what I think all of us want from our staff. So once you've determined what those satisfactory elements are, and it doesn't need to be a huge laundry list, right? You could be doing this over and over and over. You can change what you're rating. So don't make it too many things for this poor mystery shopper to try to observe. So you're going to create a scoring sheet, and you're going to have your scoring, and you're going to make sure it's consistent. You could do, could simply be a plus and a negative. Yes, I got eye contact. No, I did not get a greeting. Yes, they avoided jargon. No, they didn't get out from behind the desk and help me. You can put whatever you want on your scoring sheet, but you want to be sure that you put the day and the time. And note that there's no place for the person's name. You're not actually scoring the individual. You're scoring the service that you received. So it's multiple visits are best because you want to have a good level of data. Remember, it's not a tool to punish your staff. This is a tool to improve your library. And when you're done, after you've had them come to the library multiple times and you've got this data, then you can sit down with your staff and talk about what the results were and how you can make your library services better. So I have a question for all of you. How do you guys identify, recognize, encourage, and reward exemplary service by your staff? Amy, Mary Jo, Valerie, anybody?
Julie, can you ask that question again?
Sure. How do you identify, encourage, and reward exemplary service by your staff? So our staff is pretty amazing. Patty trained them well, so I just need to reinforce their commitment to service. Okay, great. And I think we all know really bad service when we've experienced it. So it's great. Mary Jo, positive feedback and enforcement. Recently I heard someone dealing with a difficult patron. She did such a great job. I congratulated her and mentioned it to her to everyone else. I think that's fabulous. Exactly, because oftentimes people they don't know what the skills are that you're looking for. They think they're doing a good job, but they're not holding that mirror up in front of themselves, so it's hard for them to see. I wonder if we lost Amy. I agree, Mary Jo, encouragement goes a long way. Thank you. Okay. This third technique is really, in some ways, the most time-consuming, but I think in a lot of ways it may be one of the most important ones, because how well we deliver reference services to our community. It's one of the things that we're well known for, and it's one of the things that really makes us different from other other organizations, other businesses, other types of for-profit stuff. So I think it's important that we do this particularly well. Unobtrusive observation. Unobtrusive, it's really what it means is it's a discrete way to evaluate the quality of your library's reference service, and this is how it works. A person, it's not going to be your mystery shopper, it's probably be a different person, is going to pose questions to your staff, reference questions, in which the answers have already been predetermined. And it's really important that you have somebody that your staff doesn't know. So if you belong to an organization, you might have somebody from there. Maybe if you work with a sister library nearby, and I think all of you guys don't, so that doesn't work. But so you can't really share a library staff member. But you really do want to have somebody that your staff doesn't know, because it's really important that the staff believes it's a legitimate reference request, that this is a legitimate reference, a patron or a customer or a visitor that's coming to your library with this question. And that they don't, that they're not aware that these are, bogus kind of questions. So why do you need to go through all this bother? It's, wouldn't it be easier to have your staff ask your staff how well they're delivering reference, or ask your patrons how well they're getting the service? Unfortunately, most librarians would say that they deliver consistently correct answers, and most patrons would say that they get the correct answers to their questions. Unfortunately, that's not true. There's been studies, and I want to say it's like 55% of the answers were correct. And of course, patrons don't know what the answers are, otherwise they wouldn't have asked them. So it's important that we do this. So this is why this one takes the most time, because you have to come up with those questions ahead of time. And then you have to schedule a time for that person to come in and pose the questions, and then you need to later meet with that person and review the results. You probably want to do some training with whoever's going to be your tester person so that they can deliver the question in an appropriate manner, that they kind of know what the answer should be in advance. And again, they're going to be just judging the staff on the answer and nothing else, okay? So there's 3 different ways to craft your questions. You can actually ask staff to just record for like a month or so. What are some actual reference questions we're getting? And then you can kind of tweak them so that it's a very similar type question. You can ask your staff to give you typical reference questions. You know, what are some of the typical questions that we get? And then you can, again, tweak those a little bit. Because it's important that the question kind of be representative of what is actually being asked at your library. And then you should also, you know, if you have ready reference resources available at your library, you might want to just come up with something that you think your staff should be able to answer. And the questions can be short and short answer questions, and they can be even relatively easy answers, and the answers will be judged accordingly, right? So again, I want to stress that you don't want to use this tool to punish staff. All of your staff have different skill sets and various levels of experience and knowledge. This is a technique that can help you determine what additional training needs your staff may need. And I'm going to put this URL in here. And this is also a great time to review the ALA guidelines for behavioral performance of reference and information service providers. Again, you're not trying to stump your staff. You want to create questions that are typical of your community and questions with a definitive answer. All questions should be graded on quality, completeness, and accuracy. So you want to prepare your staff in advance. You'll let them know that this may be, well, I don't know if I would do that. I actually probably wouldn't tell them that this is going to happen. I kind of keep this one under my hat. But it's a great time to review with your staff these guidelines. Remind your staff of the importance of providing detailed search paths when answering reference questions. You know, it's not just that you give the person the answers, that you basically walk them through how you found the answers so they could go back and find it themselves or replicate it. And then you want to schedule that your testers come to visit the library and pose these questions during normal business times. When you recruit your tester, again, it needs to be someone that's unknown to your library staff. They could be, again, staff from a different library, friends, trustees, family, or others. And you are the master scheduler. It's important that you schedule the times that your tester comes, and so that staff doesn't basically figure it out because the same questions being posed over and over again. It's important that your staff doesn't detect a pattern. And the scoring, it can be as simple as this. The date, the time, was there a line? Because that often, you know how staff get frenzied when there's people queuing up and they're trying to help everybody. Give your question one word. You know, this is a question on the unemployment rates, Alaska rates versus the national U.S. rates. Where did the answer come from? This answer came from the research and analysis page. Was it correct? Yes. Was a follow-up? No. This person didn't say, does this answer meet your needs? If you have any additional questions, please contact me. So, again, like the mystery shopper evaluation, you want to keep the scoring consistent. You will need to prepare your tester in advance and walk them through the process of delivering the question and what the correct answer should be. And again, you need to determine what constitutes excellent reference service at your library. Okay? So that's all that I had. I hope that you guys find some of the stuff useful. I do have sources at the end of this webinar. We are recording it, and it will be available from the librarian's page. So if you guys want to share it with staff or other people later, that'd be great. So, but now this is your guys' time. to share. So are any of you guys doing some of these techniques already? Are you using other techniques that you want to share with us? And happy to hear from you. I'll turn my microphone off, Mary Jo, if you want to use yours.
Well, ironically, I just this morning did the EDGE initiative workshop on building public access technology services, which led me to a web junction and extreme customer service every time. And I just wanted to start to make this a topic for my staff at the staff meeting that we're having tomorrow. And I think your presentation is fantastic because it's exactly what I'm looking for, because it's short and simple and easy for people to understand. So I'm definitely going to use it. I haven't been using any of these techniques except for maybe observation. And unfortunately for me, my biggest observation is that most of my staff, unfortunately, thinks of working on the desk as punishment duty, and have actually said so. So I'm trying to change that culture.
Thank you. That's something that I forget, that people think that dealing with patrons is punishment. That was a good thing to bring to our attention. Anybody else? Well, hi, Rachel. Thank you for joining us. And Valerie, thank you for the IFLA digital reference guidelines. Thank you. That was everything that I had. I appreciate all of you guys attending. I hate to end this so short because we have more time to share. So if any of you guys want to share some news about what's happening at your library, this is your chat. Oh, here we go. Amy, honestly, we have pretty horrific staff turnover at the Craig Library because it all follows that the best you have will find better jobs. I have one P2 position with no benefits and pretty lousy pay. My pay is pretty lousy too. And people tend to find better paying full-time jobs. Staff retention would be helpful. I always say that as long as you're friendly and like people, I can teach you anything in here. That's a reality. Staff turnover when you have low pay is a real problem, and it is a barrier to keeping the best and the brightest, unless maybe some of you have recognition ideas or suggestions for Amy. Anybody? Go ahead, Mary Jo.
Julie and Amy, you know, I think that this is part of the crux of the matter, is finding the friendly people who also like people, and that too many times we're trying to recruit people from a resume and qualifications that look really good, and we overlook whether they're actually people. And that's actually what the job is. So, you know, part of it is how we recruit and interview people to sort of find out whether they have these abilities that we need.
Thank you. That's very true. It looks like Amy and Valerie are responding. So let's see here. Now to find people who are friendly and like people who will stay. This is Amy. I'm continuing to read because it's for our recording. So we put out a community needs assessment, and I got back that people found the library unfriendly. That was crushing. Okay, that would be crushing because I know all the hard work that you do. So it may be possible that some of these techniques might be helpful to find out in what way. But that person moved on, so we're friendly again. Okay. Okay, looks like Valerie, low pay, understaffing, stretching ourselves thin to provide the most hours to the public makes for burnout, something we're trying to address. Okay. And Rachel says, agreed. Okay. Well, ladies, I do know that you guys are dealing with some harsh realities out there, trying to run your libraries with your limited budgets and limited staff. I do hope that these techniques are helpful. I don't want to just like ply you with more things that you feel like you have to be doing and guilt trip you into anything. Mary Jo, I appreciate what you said about, you know, you're being able to share this information with your staff. And again, it's all, you know, we take little steps over time to improve library services. So maybe you can do some of the quality walk initially, and maybe work with the board members to do something, either one of the mystery shopper or the unobtrusive reference evaluation, and just kind of slowly work some of these evaluation techniques in to improve your services. So, anybody else have anything? Okay.
Julie, can I be sure to get the handout? Because the one I got was for library service responses, and it wasn't. Is that the right one? I didn't think so.
That first handout was about the service responses, just that those are the very service responses.
I didn't get the other one. That's the only one I got.
Okay, then the other one, Mary Jo, I will put it in here, and I will also, is that the same one? Okay, anyway, I will look and see. I will see what I will see what I need to do.
If it's a library service response one, I have it, so.
Okay, okay. Okay, this is the last chance. If you guys want to share anything else, we can talk about something else other than evaluation. Is there anything exciting going on in your library that you want to share with everybody?
No, but thanks, Julie.
Okay, you're welcome. And Amy has information about the NASA program. Okay, if anyone's interested in that.
Julie, you said this is going to be available as an archived thing, or
yes.
How would we get the recording? Would the recording include the slides? Because the slides are really good.
Yes, it will. The recording is basically everything that you saw and the audio. And I will have links to the handouts on the page as well. And so if you go to 4 libraries, which is that part of the Alaska State Library website that's just for you guys, and you go down, there's the public librarians monthly chat, and it has links to archived webinars.
Great, thanks.
Okay, all right. Goodbye, everybody.